the suburbs of Canton, Massachusetts, January 28, 2022 started like any other winter night. But by morning, one man would be dead, and his girlfriend would be accused of killing him. Eventually, conflicting reports would emerge about a small detail of where a white Jeep Wrangler with a snowplow parked. A detail small enough to overlook, yet central enough to start unraveling the night.
By the mailbox.
Maybe by our mailbox.
In front of the mailbox.
A little bit in front of the mailbox, correct?
Yes, a Jeep that's parked on the street.
I don't remember where Brian Higgins parked.
This is 34 Fairview Road, the Albert House, where Boston police officer John O'Keefe spent his final hours alive. What happened inside this house that night is the heart of our story, but before we go there, we need to focus on a discrepancy that could help Officer John O'Keefe get justice. Brian Higgins, ATF agent, friend of homeowner Brian Albert, according to everyone except Brian Albert. You see, Brian Albert likes to distance himself from everything in this case.
He's a good friend. He's a co-worker. I had been working closely with his unit. I'd say he was a good friend.
Mr. Albert, are you close friends with Brian Higgins?
I wouldn't describe it as close friends, no.
Under oath, Higgins was crystal clear about one thing.
And you drive over to the home, and you mentioned that you beat Mr. Albert there. Is that correct?
I did.
And so, with regard to the home, when you get there, what did you do when you got there?
Well, I was kind of being a smart ass, and I dropped the plow, and I did a little sweep of the driveway, and then I got out of the driveway because I didn't want to get blocked in, and I parked.
And do you recall where you parked in relation to the house?
I do, by the mailbox. So the back end of the Jeep would have been right around the mailbox itself. And the edge of the driveway is right there. I wanted to make sure that I was not blocking the driveway or blocked in. So the passenger side would be closest to the house. Well, yes, so I made the sweep, and as I could see the vehicle coming up, I made the sweep, got out of the way so he could park.
So we had parked in the driveway around the time that you're parking on the street?
Yes.
You've indicated that you took your Jeep, your personal vehicle with the plow on it, over to 34 Fairview, correct?
Yes.
And you were among the first to arrive because you were doing that thing with the sort of playing around by plowing his driveway.
It was a sweep of the driveway, yes.
And then you indicated that you parked in front of the house, correct?
I did.
I know you've been over this before, but I'm going to ask you one final time so it's completely clear. Exactly where was your Jeep in front of that house?
By the mailbox.
Okay. Where was your Jeep in relation to that mailbox?
So the back end of the Jeep, the rear, would have been around equal with the mailbox, and I was not blocking the driveway.
Okay, so you would have been about there, correct? If the right edge of that highlight is the mailbox being right there, you would have been about right there on the street, correct?
Well, that would have been the front of the Jeep. We a laser pointer is, it would be the front.
Okay, so the front of the Jeep was facing the flagpole.
Towards Chapman Street, correct.
And the rear of the Jeep was basically even with the mailbox strut or stanchion.
It was definitely past the driveway, yes.
Okay.
Neat, considerate, out of the way. But the responses weren't uniform.
It looks like that. It had looked like Brian had gotten there first, Brian Higgins, and he was backing out, so I could pull my car in. He had a Jeep Wrangler vehicle that I believe is white, but I'm not 100%. He may have skimmed. He had a plow on his truck, and I think he may have plowed the driveway and then pulled out, and then we pulled in. So no, I don't remember where Brian Higgins parked. I remember him pulling out so I could pull in, and then I didn't really see where he parked. Brian Higgins' Jeep was in the driveway backing up as we pulled in. He had a Jeep Wrangler. I believe it's white. I think it's white.
Any appendage on it?
That plow.
A snow plow on the front?
Yes.
After Mr. Higgins moved out of your way, out of the driveway, where did he put that Jeep?
I don't know. I don't know where he parked.
Any idea sort of what Mr. Higgins was driving that night when he came to your house?
I believe it was a Jeep.
Do you have any idea where, in reference to your house, where Mr. Higgins parked?
I'm not sure. I thought it was out on the curb, facing up Fairview, maybe by our mailbox, but it could have been in the driveway. I'm not 100% sure.
You testified earlier that you weren't sure exactly where Brian Higgins parked that night when he arrived at your house, correct?
Right.
And you said, I'm not sure, but then you gave a pretty vivid description about him being parked, you think, in front of the house by the mailbox facing away from your residence, correct?
Right, yep.
Is that statement something that's from your personal recollection or for something that you've discussed with other witnesses in this case?
No, it's from my personal recollection of what I'm pretty sure I remembered. He pulled in first, he backed out so we could pull in, and then I'm pretty sure he pulled out and parked along the curb where the mailbox was.
So you haven't discussed that statement with any other witnesses in this case?
I don't remember. I don't think so.
There was nothing obstructing your view as you sat in the driver's seat of your Ford F-150 of the back of that black SUV, correct?
Correct.
You did not see, for instance, a Jeep with a snowplow on the front parked in between you.
I did not.
And in fact, you didn't see a Jeep with a snowplow parked anywhere on the property that you recall, correct?
To the best of my knowledge, no.
And you didn't see any other vehicles parked along the property line other than yourself and the black SUV, correct?
Correct.
What, if anything, was in between the truck, Ricky's truck, and the black SUV in front?
There was nothing, sir.
Did any car pull in between Ricky's truck and the SUV when you were sitting behind the SUV?
No, sir.
You didn't see a Jeep?
No, sir.
With a big old snowplow on the front of it?
No, sir, I did not.
That car was never between your car and the SUV, was it?
I never saw any other vehicle in between us.
All right, fair enough. You certainly did not see a full-sized Jeep Wrangler outfitted with a snowplow between the SUV and Ricky's truck.
I did not.
Sounds like a ridiculous question. You didn't see any other cars. There were no other cars between the two.
Correct.
You observed any other cars outside at that time?
Not that I remember.
So when I noticed, looking out the window, I did notice the SUV in front of the mailbox. I was inside at the dining room table, looking out the window.
Yeah, so I saw a truck, which was Julian Eggles's brother's truck, I believe, and that was a little ways, almost like in front of the driveway of the house, and then a little ways in front of it, there was another car that I hadn't recognized before. It was a dark SUV-ish, and that's all I knew about it and could see about it.
But Matt and Jim McCabe, they were certain, and they had very specific details.
Yeah, it was to the left. It was equivalent to where the driveway was. And then after the end of the driveway, there was a Jeep. And after the Jeep was the SUV, the dark SUV.
But you say that there was a Jeep in the street at that time, correct?
There was a Jeep parked in front of, at the end of the driveway, in front of the mailbox.
And that Jeep belonged to Brian Higgins?
I found out it belonged to Brian Higgins. I didn't know it was his Jeep when I arrived.
And it had a plow on the front of it?
Yes, it did.
It was parked adjacent to the Alberts property on Fairview, facing up the hill toward Chapman Street, correct?
Yes.
And at the time that you arrived, that was the only vehicle that was parked on Fairview Street adjacent to the Albert property, correct?
Yes.
And your testimony is that that Jeep remained parked in front of the Albert house, just to the left of the driveway as you faced the house, until Brian Higgins finally left and drove it away at the end of the night, correct?
That's my recollection, was his Jeep was out in front of the mailbox. The Jeep was right there. From the edge of the driveway, to right there. I believe it was a two-door Jeep. Where the mailbox is, the Jeep was right there. It was not blocking the driveway. The back would have been right in the vicinity of the edge of the driveway in the mailbox.
I see. So it wasn't blocking the driveway at all when you saw it?
No.
And it was facing to the left as we look at Exhibit 66, correct?
Heading to the left of the house, correct.
And when you saw that black SUV parked outside the Albert home, Higgins' Jeep was still there, correct?
Yes, to my recollection, the Jeep was still outside in front of the mailbox.
The black SUV was parked in front of Higgins' Jeep with the plow on the front, correct?
That's correct. It was out in front of the house. That's all I can tell you. Jeep would have been behind the black SUV, correct.
And there were no other vehicles in the area along the Albert family property line on Fairview other than Higgins' Jeep and the black SUV, correct?
That's my recollection, yes.
Friday that you saw his vehicle when you got to the scene, correct?
Yes.
You said that it was pulled up a little bit in front of the mailbox, correct?
Yes.
You indicated that that Jeep was just a little bit in front of the mailbox, meaning about there, correct?
Yes.
And the rear end of that Jeep would be butting up against the driveway,
Yes.
or at least the line of the driveway, correct?
Yes.
That's quite a bit of detail about where that Jeep was. Would you agree?
No, because I drove down the street and I took a left into the driveway and there was a Jeep there.
Okay. What I'm asking is, you didn't just say, your memory was not just somewhere in front of the house. It's literally right in front of the mailbox, the front end of it, adjoining the line of the driveway, correct?
Yes,
That detail obviously stuck out in your mind.
it did, because I was wondering whose Jeep it was.
Did you discuss that detail with your husband at any point?
Not sure.
You're not sure? You might have.
I'm not sure if I said, whose Jeep is that?
No, I don't mean then. I mean between then and now, have you and Mr. McCabe ever discussed where that Jeep was, or your memories of where that Jeep was?
Possibly.
You're aware that he put the Jeep in the exact same place that you did.
Objection.
Are you aware of that? I am. Oh, wait, no. Excuse me. Repeat the question?
You're aware that he puts the Jeep in the exact same spot you just put the Jeep, right in front of that mailbox, correct?
I know he knows where the Jeep was. I'm not aware what he said in here.
Does he know where the Jeep was because you told him what to say about the Jeep?
Absolutely not. It's because we drove together in the car, and I asked. I possibly could have asked.
One at a time, please, ma'am.
I'm sorry. I didn't mean to step on your words. I thought you...
That's okay. You can continue.
Thank you. Appreciate that. What Jeep was.
I did not need to tell Matt where the Jeep was. He knew because we were in the car together.
But you two discussed it.
When are you asking?
At any time between January 29th and today.
I'm sure we have, yes.
So you did speak to Trooper Proctor on the 29th, correct?
Correct.
During the course of that conversation, you never once, Ms. McCabe, not once, mentioned a several-ton Jeep with a snowplow attached to it, did you?
I'm not sure if I did or not.
You placed it in the exact spot where you're now saying there was a Jeep with a snowplow on it, correct?
Incorrect. I never placed Miss Reed's car in the spot where Mr. Higgins' vehicle was.
So as Trooper Proctor was taking notes about what you were saying, he just got it wrong.
You'd have to ask Trooper Proctor.
I will. And you never mentioned, according to that report, not one word about a Jeep, right?
I may never have been asked about a Jeep.
So if you weren't asked about a Jeep, because what he asked you was, what did you observe in front of the house? Ma'am, that's what he asked you, wasn't it?
No.
And you said, I observed her car by the mailbox.
No.
And you never mentioned the Jeep, did you?
You are not portraying what the conversation was.
Did you or did you not mention a Jeep sitting on that, right by that driveway, Trooper Proctor? Yes or no?
It's not in the report. I don't recall if he asked me about a Jeep.
Was Ryan Nagel's vehicle and those lights that you remember, were they in front of the Jeep or behind the Jeep?
I am not certain.
Haven't you testified previously that you remember the Jeep being between Ryan Nagel's vehicle and the SUV?
I am not certain where Brian Nagel's vehicle was.
So as you sit here now, you don't know if it was in front of the Jeep as you placed it by the mailbox?
It would be
behind the Jeep or somewhere in between?
It definitely was not in front of the Jeep.
Definitely was not in front of the Jeep.
No.
So it was definitely behind the Jeep.
Behind or to the side, I'm not sure.
Well, if it's parked on the street in front of the house, it's not going to be beside the Jeep, right? That's going to be in the middle of the
It
road.
would have been in the middle of the road, correct. So if it's pulled over, it's behind the Jeep.
Okay, so now we've narrowed that down. It's Karen Reed's SUV. As we're looking at the property, Karen Reed's SUV. To the right of that, as we're looking at from the street, at the property, to the right of that Jeep, behind that Ryan Nagel's vehicle, correct?
Correct.
You sure about that?
If my memory serves right, yes.
If your memory serves you. Okay. You also gave extensive testimony on April 26, 2022, in front of a state court grand jury, correct? At no point, when you were describing the vehicles that were out front in front of 34 Fairview on that night, at no point, under oath in front of that grand jury, did you ever mention a Jeep, did you?
I was not asked about any other vehicles out front.
So when you were talking about the vehicles that you saw in front in some painstaking detail, talking about the black SUV and Ryan Nagel's truck, you just left out the Jeep because nobody asked you about it.
I didn't read anything in that about Ryan Nagel's vehicle.
Did you miss it?
I must have.
Okay.
Is it in there?
Yeah, it is.
Okay, what?
In fact, asked about Ryan Nagel's Jeep, weren't you?
If you want to show me.
Well, I don't want to sit here and... Did you review your transcript?
Just read it all. I didn't see it.
You were asked about the cars that you saw in front, did you not?
I was asked about Miss Reed's vehicle.
Okay. And at no point did you mention a Jeep being behind Miss Reed's vehicle, as you testified today, correct?
The questions were all about Miss Reed's vehicle.
At no point, my question is this, it's yes or no. You did or you didn't. Did you mention ever in that grand jury that there was a Jeep behind Miss Reed's vehicle? Yes or no?
I'm not sure. I'd have to read it all.
As you sit here, do you recall mentioning the Jeep?
I was asked about Miss Reed's vehicle, and those are the questions I answered.
As you sit here, do you recall mentioning the Jeep, ma'am?
I would have to reread the transcript.
You don't have to reread the transcript to answer that question. Do you recall mentioning the Jeep? If you don't, you don't.
I may not have been asked about the Jeep, so I did not mention the Jeep.
Fair enough. Did you, Mr. Higgins, between then and now, between the date of the incident and now, have you ever had a conversation with Mr. Higgins about where his Jeep was parked?
No.
Have you ever had a conversation with Mr. Higgins about anything having to do with this case?
I do not believe so.
Did anyone, leaving Mr. Higgins aside, did anyone tell you anything about Mr. Higgins' Jeep and what he testified to?
No.
Were you ever asked by anybody to make sure you mention a Jeep being parked behind Miss Reed's SUV in this trial?
Not that I recall, no. Take a left into the driveway, and there is a Jeep that's parked on the street, and there's maybe a couple of cars in my sister's driveway.
I find it very funny and interesting that Jen, Matt, and Nicole, all three show the same pattern after they answer questions about the location of the Jeep. Behavioral cues often reveal what words try to conceal. Psychologists call this self-soothing, an unconscious signal of discomfort. Three voices saying definitely by the mailbox. One, maybe by the mailbox. One that doesn't know. And 6 that did not see the Jeep by the mailbox or anywhere else. 3 were not asked and never mentioned a mailbox. The contradictions are striking, and they raise a question. Why does the Jeep's exact location matter so much? To understand why Brian Higgins might lie about a parking space, we need to understand his state of mind that night. In the days leading up to January 28th, Higgins had been reaching out to John O'Keefe's girlfriend, Karen Reed. Flirty texts, personal messages. Karen quit responding to the text several days prior, and earlier that night at the Waterfall Bar, cameras show she ignored him completely. And cameras show Higgins, restless, unsettled, and fixated on Karen Reed. After an ignored flirty text, Higgins was spiraling by the end of the night. So when the group moved from the Waterfall Bar to 34 Fairview Road that night to continue the party at the Albert House, Higgins led the pack. But a man full of Jameson and ginger, and who had been ignored all night, might have other plans. And if he had unfinished business with Karen Reed, would he really park where she could easily spot his vehicle and decide not to stop? Or would he hide? Picture this. Karen Reed and John O'Keefe arrive at 34 Fairview Road. If Higgins' Jeep with a snowplow had really been parked by the mailbox, Karen might have recognized it. She might have kept driving, and John O'Keefe might still be alive.
I don't know.
But here's what's truly chilling about the mailbox story. It wasn't just Brian Higgins, the driver, who told it. 3 people, absolute certainty. Around 12:20 a.m., Matt and Jen McCabe arrived at 34 Fairview Road. They pulled into the driveway right by the mailbox. A white Jeep with a snowplow would be impossible to miss. So when Higgins testified he parked by the mailbox, clearly visible to everyone, the McCabes would know if it wasn't true since they arrived after Higgins. They claim they saw the Jeep by the mailbox. Because here is what could be revealed. In my opinion, Higgins deliberately hid his vehicle so John and Karen would come into 34 Fairview Road and he could confront Karen in front of John and completely expose her. Hidden Jeep means intent. Intent means premeditation. And premeditation means investigators start asking much harder questions, not just about Higgins, but about everyone who was inside 34 Fairview that night. Brian and Nicole Albert were walking in the house. They genuinely might not have paid any attention to where he parked since they entered the house first. As trained law enforcement, Brian Albert knows the smartest answer is I don't know, no lies, no exposure, just uncertainty. When asked about the Jeep, Nicole Albert was in a bit of a pickle. Should she go along with her husband, or should she help back up her sister's story? Now, Matt and Jen McCabe, they saw everything, and they made a choice. But if hiding the Jeep was a deliberate act, why insist the vehicle was parked by the mailbox? More puzzling still, why would others, who don't seem to be close to Higgins, tell the exact same story? The answer lies in shared risk. They're all connected to that house, that night, and the tragedy that followed. Telling contradictory truths would make any one of them the odd one out, which would make them the target of suspicion, and the investigation moves into the house, even though it should have regardless. So instead, they choose a united story, not out of loyalty, but self-preservation. Together, their aligned testimony forms a quiet barrier, shielding themselves and obscuring the truth beneath layers upon layers of silence. This is just a tiny detail that is easily forgettable if they all say the same thing. I wonder just how many of those tiny forgettable details there are in their stories. Here's a question for you. And for this equation, I am going to count Nicole as pro mailbox, since she isn't 100% sure, but she thinks the Jeep was parked by the mailbox. Okay, what is more likely? That a white Jeep with a snowplow parked in plain sight right by the driveway went completely unnoticed by everyone, except 4 people. And these 4 people are all connected to the same house. Or that 4 people chose to tell the same lie. Which one's more likely? Sometimes the smallest details can carry the heaviest truth. But the Jeep is just one layer. Each testimony, each denial, and each contradiction adds to a puzzle no one seems willing to solve. Who really saw what? Why do some remember the Jeep clearly, while others don't recall it at all?
SUV
Not that I
in
remember.
front of the mailbox.
And the 3 people in the F-150 have zero reason to lie.
No, sir, I did not.
Because if the Jeep wasn't where it was supposed to be, then what else about that night isn't what it seems?
By the mailbox.
In front of the mailbox.
On the street,
Mailbox.
I so know.
By the
Mailbox.
mailbox. By the mailbox.
I did not.
on the street,
I did not.
In front of the mailbox.
No, sir, I did not.
Trooper Bukaki.